He's Justin Wu, folks. So, in the last 2 years, how many events have you traveled to literally share the news of crypto?
Well, it's actually been just the whole year. So I've been, ever since I jumped into fully working in the blockchain space, got rid of my apartment in LA and kind of went full digital nomad to go take a look at...
He's literally homeless, by the way.
Yeah. Pretty much just like jumping around different cities and different countries to kind of take a look at different ecosystems and see what's going on in terms of projects, meeting people, and just having a good time taking a look at
so how many events?
others' cultures. And
how many places have you been to events?
Well, it's heavily been in Asia. So I was in Asia for like about 4 months just to see how hot the scene is over there.
Is that because you're Asian?
Well, that's also easier that way, I guess. But next year, I do plan to go to take a look at Latin America a little bit. I think Latin America is growing.
Shout out to South America and Colombia.
I think it's growing. I still think it's maybe a little bit further.
Will you visit Colombia?
I've been to Colombia once before. I went to Bogota.
There's a big blockchain group out there.
Panama, and then I've heard Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico also some activities going.
So seriously, how many events have you been to in the last year? 10, 20?
Just keeping busy. No, more than 20. Like it's just been
50?
No, not a 50, but
40 maybe.
Yeah, maybe around 40.
All right, so tell us.
Yeah.
Tell everyone here. Why did you do this? And what does this mean? What is having an event on Wall Street, have an event live at the NASDAQ? What does that mean? You get a great perspective.
Well, I think it's a great intersection, especially with New York kind of leading the way as kind of the financial hub of the world, right? I think that what we've been seeing on the forefront in the news for the past like 3 to 6 months has been nonstop. Backed and ICE is coming out with their own exchange platform.
For the people that don't know what that is.
So the New York Stock Exchange, or ICE, the parent company, is coming out with their own exchange, which is called Backed. And I think Microsoft, as well as Starbucks, is also involved with it as well.
Shout out to the Coffee King Starbucks.
Yes. So I'm from Seattle.
Wait, that's another great sign, though. When you start seeing
I'm going to let you guys talk.
NASDAQ, doing this, being involved and embracing the sector and space. When the New York Stock Exchange is launching their own crypto exchange, it's you have to start taking this seriously.
Yeah, and I think that it's all the signs are there that if we saw what happened,
the experts,
they are the experts, and it's the big money, and a lot of people will follow suit if Wall Street kind of follows with it too. So to me, it's just like it's a huge.
It's not just a bunch of us crazy entrepreneurs.
Yeah, we're covering the
world's
path.
main experts are saying yes, this is happening, it's real, and we're doing it. We're a part of it.
Yeah, and they haven't fully participated yet. So to me, that's what keeps me kind of optimistic about the whole space. If we saw what happened in, let's say, like last year, the whole bull run of November, December, whatever, that was just mainly what U.S., some of Europe, Japan, China. But now we're seeing within the past, like even 3 to 6 months, Southeast Asia is finally catching on. Binance opened up like 40,000, or I think 40,000 accounts in Uganda. So this is all kind of the infrastructure to kind of set the way for a bigger global crypto and blockchain participation that we haven't even seen before.
Yeah, I mean, this is the equivalent of like back in the mid-'90s when the big banks and the Fortune 2000 companies created websites for the first time.
Yeah.
They said, okay, wait, this internet thing is relevant, this internet thing is important, and we need to be involved in this internet thing. This is that same sort of validation type event.
Yeah, it really is. And one thing that I'd also like to do too, besides going out to a lot of events out there, is just continuing on to help other ecosystems out that aren't what I consider like the blockchain hubs, like San Francisco, LA, New York.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. I like to look outside of those markets. Like what you're doing at Puerto Rico is awesome too. But we're looking at anywhere from like there's stuff going on in Denver, Austin, Atlanta, Seattle, Portland. There's enthusiasts and as well as developers all across, and we need to kind of activate that. So I've been kind of helping at least facilitate meetups and events and have different people come in and speak in each of those ecosystems.
Michelangelo.
Yeah, Michelangelo, you want to come up here?
I want to let you ask a couple questions about Puerto Rico. Hear
Yeah.
it from one of the best and the brightest in Puerto Rico, entrepreneur actually leading the way, paving the way for other Puerto Ricans. Rather than hearing
awesome.
it from me, I'd rather you hear it directly from
How's it going?
the young Puerto Ricans leading the way.
Yeah, so my name is Michelangelo. I'm from Puerto Rico. I have a blockchain startup. It's a hardware startup. So we're making a wristband that uses a person's biometric signature to prove identity. It also signs transactions, and it provides access. So we're big on innovating with blockchain in Puerto Rico and also teaching people that don't have the necessary tools to be able to innovate. So that's what we're doing on the island, which is great, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I know you guys just had Restart Week, like the past week, right, or so, and which has been a great effort. I personally need to head over to see Puerto Crypto or Puerto Rico a little bit more too as well. I guess from your guys' side, are you guys seeing a lot of talent? A lot of people around the world are coming over to Puerto Rico, right? Or
Totally. There was a wave of people that actually came to the island, and honestly, some of them didn't want to help, right? They were just there for the tax incentives and this and that. But there's also other people, for example, Brock, that are there to actually help, kind of as a VC, as an angel investor, actually funnel some money into projects that know what they're doing. So investing in strategic projects. Because it's less about just helping Puerto Rico because it's Puerto Rico, like, oh, God, help me. No, it has to be strategic, right? Puerto Ricans have the same intellectual capacity than anywhere else. We can build projects that will make money both for the investor and for the company. So it's smart. It's smart money, basically. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I guess when did you get into the whole involvement with blockchain, or have you always been kind of like dabbling into crypto for the past like couple years, or has it been? Were you kind of working on your project and then found that blockchain was helping increase efficiency in the problems you're trying to solve?
Well, we met
Yeah.
when he was doing education, which is exactly the same way that I met Jeremy Gardner. He was doing the exact same thing. His first foray into the space was going around and educating students about the market opportunity, then became an entrepreneur. He's having his auger sort of moment, but on the same path and trajectory like, Jeremy a couple years later.
So short background on me, computer scientist. I worked in manufacturing when I was 17. Because my dad is actually a hardware engineer. So he got me this job in manufacturing. I got CMT certified, so I can work with PCBs. And so he printed out these little token things, like keychains that said Bitcoin Puerto Rico, and he started giving them out to people. And I was like, Dad, you need to stop with all this crazy stuff, all right? And I started looking into the technology, what it could do, and looking into the semantic web and Web 3.0, how this could essentially change the tides, right? So right now, government owns your identity, banks own your money, and centralized systems own your data. And when data is centralized, it's easily hacked. So I'm talking about the millions of Americans affected by Equifax or Facebook leaks. And so the opportunity of blockchain in terms of data management when it comes to transparency is huge, right? It's not going to be everything, but it's going to be an essential pillar for Web 3.0. And so actually being able to tap into that and teach people on a small island like Puerto Rico, they can essentially become industry leaders in this. So,
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess from your perspective, or I guess working with a lot of there too, I guess with blockchain being such a kind of like a new topic for, I guess, has there been more movement also too on in the schools and universities, or is that still kind of like a growing thing on your guys' side?
It's a growing thing on our side. So it goes back to mainstream adoption, right? And I've been telling people, and this is what we want to solve with our startup, right? We want to make a human-centered design because mainstream adoption in large part has been stopped by a bad user experience, right? So people don't understand this complicated, decentralized, IO, tokenization, right? You have to simplify it. What are the practical use cases for it? Like, what can my mother, father, brother use it for, right? They need something that can solve their day-to-day problems. And we're doing that, right? We have to simplify it and talk about the use cases, right? So it's less about features and more about use cases. So there's organizations, shout out to Link Puerto Rico. They're doing curriculums. They did the first hackathon in the University of Ponce. They raised couple thousand, right? And gave it to the students. They were there for 24 hours, and they made blockchain solutions. So that's great. It's moving. The ball is moving.
Yeah, that's awesome, especially training kind of like the next generation of talent to get involved into the blockchain space as well.
Yeah, and Puerto Rico has tremendous potential. It's a small market in terms of the size of the population, but it sits kind of as the gateway from Europe to the New World. It sits as the gateway between North and South America. I view it as a market that has potential very similar to Singapore. Singapore by itself is not a large enough market to attract a lot of interest, but with that hub and spoke model of it being the place with the greatest rule of law, with all of Southeast Asia around it, all the investors are like, I want you to incorporate here. It's a great way to serve. So businesses in South America that want to access the United States, what a perfect way to do it. It should be, I think there's a really compelling argument that it should be done through Puerto Rico, maybe even over Miami. American companies that want to access Latin America, a very good way to do that. Companies that want to raise institutional capital and service Latin America arguably should be incorporated there because it's the United States with U.S. rule of law. As an investor, I have a major problem investing in most companies that would be domiciled in Latin America. Most of them domicile in places like the BVI or the Cayman Islands to then service those markets. But Puerto Rico, I think, is arguably the most compelling market, and I think Puerto Rico has the potential to kind of be the Singaporean version of, call it, the American Latin American gateway.
So that goes back to it being so small, right? Because you can essentially build micro economies in it because it's kind of a sandbox in a way where you can focus the economy on one thing and do it right. So this one thing could be IP and services, right? So we feel that Puerto Rico is making a big transition from manufacturing to IP and services, right? And so with that change comes education. So what else is important when it comes to that? There's nothing else that could breach that, if not education, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
There's, again, incredible engineering talent. The number 15 engineering school in the United States is the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez. The talent is there. You've got more artists per capita. You got more bachelor degrees per capita. The Puerto Rico has so much untapped potential.
Yeah, very cool. You guys all heard it here first. Well, not here. I mean, I think that's really great to highlight, and that's kind of like where I like to go and take a look at that. So looking forward to coming to Puerto Rico to
so I'm going to make another prediction here. I think that Michelangelo is going to be the first sort of venture-backed entrepreneur out of Puerto Rico building his company in Puerto Rico. I think that in 6 or 12 months, people are going to look back and say, oh, he was able to do it. I might be able to as well. Puerto Rico has not been able to live that entrepreneurial dream without moving out of Puerto Rico. Puerto Rican entrepreneurs are going to be able to build things in Puerto Rico because the tools that are needed to be able to do that are going to be present.
What's up, Chris?
Good to see you. All right, let me grab here. Folks, give him a great big hand.
Thank you.
Ay, caramba. Ay, caramba. The things this guy does. The things this guy does.
No.
So, hey, by the way, let's do that paperwork later before you leave. Make sure we get it on a napkin. Yeah, security, get him out of the house. Feel free to use live rounds. Hey, you hungry at all?
I think we're wrapping up, at 9?
9. Can you go another hour, or are you hungry?
Hey,
Need an IV? Need some water?
I can go for 36 hours without a break.
You know, I used to say that about poker.
I could probably do 64. I'll get a little sloppy after 48, but I think I could go 36 hours strong doing just this.
I used to say that about poker, huh? Me? You don't want me to do the call? Why don't you come up here?
But when we're done here.
They all want you. So you guys have some fun while I was gone?
Yeah.
We got to go down the Puerto Rico rabbit hole, which was good.
Have you been to Puerto Rico yet?
No, I haven't. I know
gotta
that I
go.
was supposed to go.
Now, if for no other reason, this guy doesn't buy a house, he buys a hotel and turns it into a house. And I'll tell you what, it's a cool crib. He's got 2 dogs, one extra large, and one like a little street guppy. Now, I'll tell you what.
Well, the 2 small dogs are actually Puerto Rico rescue dogs, too.
Shout out to all the Puerto
So
Rico rescue dogs.
After Hurricane Maria, a lot of people left. And a lot of people didn't have a lot of time to leave with all their things in the way that they wanted to leave. And a lot of pets got left behind. The number that I last heard is there were 400,000 dogs abandoned as a result of Hurricane Maria. And so we also try and spend time rescuing and rehabilitating and finding homes for dogs down there.
You know, I'll tell you what. The fact that you're a dog lover just confirms to me anyone that likes dogs just has to be a good person. How many dog lovers we got out there? What?
Dogs love unconditionally. Like, how can you not love dogs?
Listen, I go back. You just walk off stage? Just, you know, I mean,
Had to
you know how many people just
I
all
had
of a sudden,
to
you know, when
handle
people
it.
just logged off the live stream because you got off stage? They're like, oh, he's gone.
Had to handle
So
some.
you got a dog, don't you?
Yeah, I have two dogs.
2?
Yeah.
I thought you had 1.
Yeah, one's a rescue too.
Who's the rescue?
Well, most of my dogs were rescued.
We'll give him a shout out.
Yeah.
Good.
shout out to- yeah.
That's
Shout out
important.
to
More
Mango?
people
Yeah.
need to know that. You know,
rescue dogs
there's a
are
lot of
great.
wonderful animals out there that just need, you know, a wonderful home.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. The one thing that I've learned is the common thread of crypto is there are just a lot of overwhelmingly good people in this space. Like people that are out there wanting to do good stuff for the world around them.
Well, you'll notice that that is the common thread amongst people that have been in the industry a long time.
Yeah.
And that's something that most people don't see because they see the money being made, they see the, you know, Lambos, and they see all these sorts of things, and the perception.
Shout out to all the cheap Lambos for sale.
But that, yeah, there are a lot of them. Right now, huh? A lot of people that, yeah.
Hey, by the way, how'd you do in the poker tournament over in Vegas?
I think I got out in like 40th place, something like that.
So you basically sucked?
Seventh round.
Did you get aces cracked or something?
Well, no, I did have. I went in with the best cards. What happened is this never happens to me. Well, rarely happens to me.
You know that's a poker lie when they say it never happens to me.
Well, no, what happened is I had a clear hand to play in where I should have made my play, but it required going all in, calling and all in, but where I was pretty sure I had the goods.
Hey, we got any poker players out there?
And I mucked the winning hand because I didn't want to go out too early.
What'd you have? What'd you muck?
I just had top pair with a good kicker.
What'd you have?
Kings,
Top
king
pair
jack
what?
of spades.
So you had king with a jack kicker.
Yeah, and
Pair
the
of
other
kings.
person had a king like 6. You know, a king rag suited.
You know what they say, right?
Well, this was my big mistake.
No gamble, no future.
Well, the problem was in any other game I would have played it. I had a bounty on me of $500 for anyone. They had bounties on, you know, call it the quasi-celebrities, poker players and crypto people. But I didn't want to be like knocked out early. You know, I saw like, you know, Marshall Long and a bunch of other people in the game. I'm like, I gotta last. And I made the mistake of, you know, you're better
Marshall
off
Long-
going early.
Marshall Long
going
from
out
Metal?
early. You know, you're better off losing early and taking a shot at building a stack early in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Because that stack is everything, you know, down the game. You need that weight. And I basically played this game where I was, you know, limping along. And you don't win by limping. But I got in there with the best cards. I had, you know, ace in the window up against 2 others.
Jonas, go give me that poker player with the beard.
Flushed me single card diamond, you know, to beat me.
You play any poker?
No, I don't.
Just
play poker.
mahjong? Just a lot of mahjong?
I wish.
Yeah.
Play a lot of games. That's what I do. Esports.
Anybody play baccarat?
Yeah.
Baccarat?
Well,
Any baccarat?
the Chinese game better than mahjong is Go.
Go? Dude, I've heard Go like is going insane.
I'm a Go player.
Like,
I used to
don't
play
you have
chess.
You have a Go player. You have a Go coach, don't you?
I've got a friend that has been teaching me Go the last year and a half.
I've got my poker coach out there. He just can't seem to hear me. Bill Zarian. Jiminy Cricket. You played with Dan. Hey, bring you and Furry Man up here. Yeah, we're talking poker. Get up here, man. And we're not looking up the IRS code anywhere. Get over here. Come on. Get over here.
Well, we're talking cards. We're talking poker.
Huh?
Well, we just had it.
Give him the mic.
The best
Hey,
poker
folks,
game
by the
I've
way,
seen
hey.
in the crypto space.
Justin Wu, give him a little bit of a hand.
What